Hello and welcome to On Closer Inspection, the weekly current affairs programme here on Made in Leeds. This is the show where we look at the biggest stories developing here in the city and talk to the people with something to say about them. There's lots on the way today, including the politicians are all talking devolution and the Northern Powerhouse, but how many of us are actually engaged in the discussions about whether we want it or what it could mean? That's what the event that Just West Yorkshire hosted was trying to do, wasn't it, on Saturday, was trying to take it away from questions of structure and mayors and power. Yeah. And actually, what change could it make for people?
Yeah, making it more accessible to people, basically.
Yeah. Well, basically, the situation is that, for as far as most people are concerned, it's just not sexy. That's ultimately what it's about, John, isn't it?
Well, not necessarily sexy. I think people are in the dark. I mean,
the thing about the Scottish referendum, it seems to me, I mean, obviously the bloke we saw in the first half, he talked about wanting to move the border a bit further south. The thing it seemed to me, though, watching it as someone from England, was that loads of people were engaged in it, weren't they? Young people, we heard stories that everyone at bus stops were talking, that people back in pubs were all talking politics. Ed, how do we get more people interested in talking about the issues that affect their lives, do you think?
What's it got to
so
do
you
with
two
us?
both seem to be saying you've kind of got to wait a bit of time and let these things filter through.
It's how you present it as well, because at the moment it's presented like your dad dancing at a wedding. I mean, George Osborne. Can you imagine somebody who's 18 or 16?
Hi there, welcome back to On Closer Inspection, our weekly current affairs show here on Made in Leeds. Tonight we're talking about the Paris attacks and what they mean for our city. How surprised have you been? How important has it been, the response of the British people? So much solidarity with French, because let's face it, often the French and the English have had a bit of a checkered history.
Yeah, we have this little, but now it's past.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're gonna say, oh, she's a frog, or I'm a frog, something like that. But it's
really with le roast beef.
Yeah, and we say les roast beef.
Le roast beef.
Yeah, but you know, all this is past. And the main thing is that we are able to communicate.
Various players who are playing who've got some ulterior motives behind it as well.
We've had some very strong statements over the weekend from mosques in Leeds, being really clear. I mean, as I was saying earlier, one statement calling it an abomination, really clear language against the attacks. Do you feel, though, that Muslim communities in Leeds are doing enough to try and understand why some young people might be getting caught up with some of the messages that they might be hearing from ISIS and turn into radicalisation?
One thing is for sure, that we need to, I mean, 60% of the Holy Quran has got references from the Holy Bible and the Torah and the Old Testament.
And I'll tell you one thing that I always think about with the Holy Quran, tell me if I'm wrong, but I was brought up a Catholic, and I used to go to Latin masses, and when I was a kid I could probably say the words, but I had no idea what they meant, to be honest. Is there also a question about the fact that the Holy Quran is in a different language, which maybe means that people are totally reliant on the interpretations that they're told, and if they're hearing things in social media that the interpretation is different, that's a real issue?
Absolutely not. The translation of
well, let's start with looking at what this is all about. Now, Jeremy Hunt, the Health Secretary, has said, in fact, that the BMA are misleading members. He actually said last weekend that he would probably protest too if he was a junior doctor and only listened to the BMA. So, Del, is the BMA being misleading?
So
that's all the really good news. But this must be a bit bittersweet, because obviously Burberry have factories over by Keighley, over in Castleford, and they're going to be relocating into Leeds. You're in the middle of negotiations with the government to create a Leeds city region for devolution. This must be quite difficult for you to manage.
No, I think we've had obviously very detailed conversations with our neighbouring authorities. The really positive thing is Burberry could have gone anywhere. They are an iconic global brand. I cannot stress to you how big their reach is. Over 30,000 employees across the world, and they've chosen to stay within the Leeds City region because they value their workforce and they want to do everything they possibly can to enable their workforce to bring the skills that they have into the plant in Leeds.
So Peter Box in Wakefield, Dave Green in Bradford, they're kind of feeling all right about it, not feeling usurped.
No, Peter Box has been extremely...
It does seem to me, Louis, that we have moved on leaps and bounds as a society in terms of acknowledging transgender community and generally attitudes towards it. Is that me being naive, or is that, do you know what I mean, is that still the case that people are much more accepting these days?
I think you're right in saying that.
Is there a slight risk, though, that it's almost taken on a life of its own, the kind of fear of Woodhouse Moor, that actually the perception of fear is infinitely worse than the actual reality of the safety?
I don't know if that's completely true, because there was...
Okay, so that's the message back to the council. Basically, make Woodhouse Moor a bit safer there. And as someone who lives around in the area, then I would say as well, and a plea maybe back to the students to take the litter home with them sometimes rather than leaving it around Woodhouse Moor. Maybe we could do a deal. Maybe we could do it that way. Yeah.